Imagine being told your career is over at 21, or waking up from surgery wondering if you'll ever walk again, let alone play basketball. For these players, that was their reality. Some of your favorite NBA players were told they might never play again. Yet, they defied all odds, fought through pain and surgeries, and stepped back onto the court to continue their careers. Here are some of the NBA's most inspiring players who came back from injuries that were supposed to end their careers. These are stories of resilience, determination, and an unbreakable will to win. Sit back and let's get into it. Shaun Livingston, the leg shatter that was heard around the world. On February 26, 2007, Shaun Livingston was just 21 years old, playing for the Los Angeles Clippers as a point guard when he suffered one of the most gruesome injuries ever seen in the NBA. As he went up for a fast break layup against the Charlotte Bobcats, he landed awkwardly, completely dislocating his left knee. His ACL, PCL, MCL, and meniscus were torn, and his kneecap was dislocated. What could be more devastating than that? The doctor said his leg was nearly amputated, as it was a complex situation. At that moment, his career was practically declared over. Many believed he'd never walk normally again, let alone play professional basketball. But Shaun wasn't ready to give up. He spent months in rehab learning how to walk and move again, then spent years hopping between teams in the D-League and signing 10-day contracts just to stay relevant. But miracles do happen. In 2014, he finally found his place with the Golden State Warriors, becoming an integral part of their championship dynasty. The light that almost went out because of one bad landing turned into a spark that helped win 3 NBA championships. It doesn't end there. His mid-range fadeaway jumper off the bench became a signature move, and his story remains one of the most inspirational comebacks in sports. If your clique asks you about Shaun Livingston, tell them he is a legend who never gave up even in the face of a tough circumstance. Paul George, the nightmare leg break. Ever heard of Grace to Grass and Back to Grace story? Here is one. In August 2014, Paul George was at the top of his game. He was practicing with Team USA for the FIBA World Cup when a devastating disaster struck. During a defensive play, he landed awkwardly against the base of the basketball hoop, snapping his right leg in half in front of the entire arena. The video went viral immediately, with fans and analysts speculating that his career might be over. But Paul George wasn't ready to let that be his final moment. After successful surgery, he began a grueling rehabilitation journey. It was tough, exhausting, and mentally draining, but he kept his spirit alive by believing and refusing to quit on his dreams. By April 2015, just 8 months later, he made his comeback, playing his first game back for the Indiana Pacers. The true beauty of his comeback was seen in the following seasons. Not only did he return, but he also regained his all-star form, becoming an MVP candidate with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and later, a defensive powerhouse and offensive leader with the Los Angeles Clippers. Paul George's recovery showed the world that mental strength is just as important as physical healing. He literally turned his saddest moment to a breakthrough, which has become a national lesson for many. Grant Hill, the ankle injury that wouldn't heal. When you think all hope is lost, think. Grant Hill, he was one of the most promising players in the NBA in the late 90s, often compared to Michael Jordan in his early career. However, in 2000, while playing for the Detroit Pistons, Hill suffered a severe ankle injury that just wouldn't heal properly. He underwent multiple surgeries that led to a life-threatening MRSA infection in 2003, with doctors warning him that not only his career, but his life was at risk. In the face of uncertainty with his life, terrifying challenges, or even returning back to the court, Grant Hill never gave up. After missing nearly 4 seasons and enduring endless ankle surgeries, he signed with the Orlando Magic and later the Phoenix Suns. where he reinvented his game as a veteran leader, solid defender, and smart playmaker. He went on to play over 1,000 NBA games before retiring in 2013, proving that his career wasn't defined by injuries, but by his resilience and passion for the game. What a great comeback! It's no doubt, NBA isn't just a game of points, MVP, and championship, but resilience, determination, and an unbreakable will to win. Bernard King, torn ACL and the scoring machine returns. Not many are familiar with the story of Bernard King. In March 1985, Bernard was at the peak of his career, leading the league in scoring and dominating defenders with his lethal mid-range jumper and powerful drives. A reliable team player we all knew him to be. However, during a game against the Kansas City Kings, he tore his ACL, which at the time was considered a career-ending injury, especially for a player who relied heavily on explosiveness and athleticism. It was devastating news. Many couldn't bring themselves to believe it, and a lot of people lost hope in him returning to the NBA. Doctors told him he might never play again, but Bernard King refused to accept that. He spent 2 entire seasons rehabbing his knee, enduring painful physical therapy and isolation from the game he loved. Finally, in 1987, he returned to the NBA. But he wasn't the same player we knew him to be. He struggled so hard to get back to his former stats. But it wasn't until the 1991 season with the Washington Bullets that he truly silenced the doubters. At 34 years old, he averaged over 28 points per game and earned an all-star selection. His ability to return after such a severe knee injury, especially in an era where medical advancements were limited, remains one of the greatest comeback stories in basketball history. Rudy Gay, ruptured Achilles, and silent return. In January 2017, Rudy Gay, then playing for the Sacramento Kings, ruptured his Achilles tendon, one of the most feared injuries in sports. Many players, especially those relying on athleticism like Gay, never fully recover their explosiveness after such an injury. At that point, it looked like his career might be over. However, Rudy Gay had other plans. He underwent surgery, worked relentlessly in rehab, and just 7 months later, he signed with the San Antonio Spurs. While he wasn't as explosive as before, he adapted his game, focusing on smart drives, post-ups, and reliable three-point shooting. Gay became a vital bench scorer for the Spurs and later the Utah Jazz. His comeback wasn't as flashy as others, but his resilience and ability to reinvent his play style showed that even Achilles injuries aren't always the end, especially for players with high basketball IQ and determination to evolve. Derrick Rose, torn ACL and career resurrection. From being the youngest MVP in NBA history to being berated, the story of Derrick is an uplifting one. In 2011, Derrick Rose became the youngest MVP in NBA history, leading the Chicago Bulls with explosive drives and unreal athleticism. But during the 2012 playoffs, tragedy struck. He tore his ACL, and from that moment, his career trajectory changed forever. Between 2012 and 2017, he suffered multiple knee injuries, meniscus tears, and setbacks. Many analysts called him washed, saying he would never regain his form. Teams traded him cheaply, and by 2017, he was waived and nearly left the league completely. But Derrick Rose wasn't finished. In 2018, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, he dropped 50 points in an emotional game that left fans and even himself in tears. His journey didn't end there. He went on to become a crucial sixth man for the Detroit Pistons and New York Knicks, showcasing his matured game, leadership, and clutch playmaking. Derrick Rose's story is a reminder that even when life knocks you down repeatedly, you can always stand up stronger. Quick random NBA fact before we continue. Did you know that Manute Bol blocked more shots than he scored points in his entire NBA career? Standing at 7 feet 7 inches, he recorded 2,086 career blocks, but only 1,599 points. He's the only player in NBA history with that stat line. Imagine being so dominant defensively that your blocks outnumber your points. That's legendary rim protection. It just shows that impact in basketball isn't always about scoring. Sometimes it's about stopping others from scoring, and Manute Bol mastered that art like no other. All right, let's get back to our main story and meet the next player who turned pain into power. Brandon Roy, retirement and the attempted comeback. Brandon Roy was an all-star shooting guard for the Portland Trail Blazers, known for his smooth handles, clutch plays, and leadership. But by 2011, chronic knee injuries had robbed him of cartilage in both knees, forcing him into an early retirement at just 27 years old. Doctors told him his knees couldn't take the rigors of NBA basketball again. However, in 2012, Roy underwent regenerative treatments and decided to attempt a comeback, signing with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Fans were overjoyed to see him return, but sadly, after only 5 games, his knees gave way again, forcing him to retire permanently. Though his comeback wasn't successful in stats or longevity, Brandon Roy's courage to even attempt playing again with bone-on-bone knees inspired millions. It showed that sometimes bravery isn't just about winning, it's about trying when everyone says you can't. DeMarcus Cousins, torn Achilles, torn quad, torn ACL. DeMarcus Cousins, once considered the most dominant big man in the league, suffered a torn Achilles in January 2018 while playing for the New Orleans Pelicans. At the time, he was averaging 25 points and 13 rebounds per game, earning all-star nods and striking fear into opposing centers. After a year of rehab, he signed with the Golden State Warriors to chase a ring. Sadly, in the 2019 playoffs, he tore his quad. While recovering from that, in August 2019, he tore his ACL during a workout with the Lakers. 3 devastating injuries in under 2 years. Many believed his NBA career was done, but DeMarcus Cousins refused to quit. He rehabbed again, signed with the Houston Rockets, and later the Clippers, Bucks, and Nuggets, providing backup minutes off the bench. While he's no longer the superstar he was, his perseverance and love for the game keep him fighting for every opportunity. His story reminds us that success isn't always about fame or stats. Sometimes it's about simply refusing to give up. Klay Thompson, back-to-back devastation and triumphant return. In June 2019, during Game 6 of the NBA Finals against the Toronto Raptors, Klay Thompson tore his ACL after landing awkwardly on a fast-break dunk attempt. The injury ended his finals and forced him to miss the entire 2019 to 2020 season. Fans and analysts expected him to come back strong the next year, but tragedy struck again. In November 2020, just weeks before his scheduled return, Klay tore his Achilles during an off-season workout. Back-to-back devastating injuries that many considered career-ending, especially for a player who relied on quick footwork and defensive agility. But Klay Thompson is a warrior in every sense. After nearly 941 days away from basketball, he finally returned on January 9, 2022, scoring 17 points against the Cleveland Cavaliers. His return electrified the arena and inspired millions worldwide. Later that season, he played a key role in helping the Golden State Warriors win their 4th championship in 8 years. Klay's comeback is a testament to patience, disciplined rehab, and an unbreakable love for the game. He proved that setbacks are only setups for greater comebacks. Paralysis and unbreakable spirit. Shawn Bradley's comeback story is different from the rest. In January 2021, the former Philadelphia 76ers and Dallas Mavericks center was paralyzed after a cycling accident that left him with a traumatic spinal cord injury. Doctors told him he would never walk again. Unlike others who returned to the NBA court, Shaun's comeback is about fighting for a normal life. His goal became to regain mobility and inspire others facing life-changing injuries. Through extensive rehab and therapy, Shaun regained some movement in his upper body, learning how to adapt to his new life with positivity and faith. He has become a beacon of hope for spinal cord injury survivors, showing that sometimes the greatest comeback isn't to the court, but to living life with gratitude despite unimaginable circumstances. Broken feet and a reborn career. Before he became known as LeBron James's loyal big man in Cleveland, career was nearly over before it truly began. Drafted in 1996 by the Cavaliers, Big Z showed promise but was immediately plagued by chronic foot injuries. Between 1996 and 2001, he underwent multiple surgeries for repeated fractures in his feet, the very foundation for any seven-footer's game. Many doctors believed he would never handle the pounding of an NBA season, but Z refused to quit. Through countless hours of rehab and specialized footwear to reduce stress on his feet, Ilgauskas fought his way back. By 2003, he became an all-star, later serving as a reliable center alongside LeBron in their deep playoff runs. Big Z played 13 seasons in the league, retired as one of Cleveland's most beloved players, and even had his jersey retired by the Cavs. His story is proof that sometimes the fight isn't flashy. It's about grinding behind the scenes, doing the boring work that nobody sees, and showing up night after night when everyone expects you to disappear. Punched nearly to death, returns as all-star. In one of the most shocking moments in NBA history, Rudy Tomjanovich's career and life almost ended in an instant. On December 9, 1977, during a game between the Houston Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers, a scuffle broke out on the court. Rudy rushed in to break up the fight, but out of nowhere, Lakers player Kermit Washington turned and delivered a devastating punch directly to Rudy's face. The blow was so powerful that it fractured his skull, broke his nose and jaw, and caused severe spinal fluid leakage. The impact was compared to a car crash at 50 miles per hour. Doctors said he was lucky to even be alive. Many believed he would never play basketball again, let alone walk without complications. But Rudy Tomjanovich wasn't done yet. After months of surgery and painful rehabilitation to rebuild his facial structure and heal internal injuries, he made his return to the Houston Rockets the following season. Not only did he come back, but he played for several more years, earning another All-Star selection and cementing his place as one of the toughest men to ever play the game. He later went on to coach the Rockets to 2 NBA championships in the 1990s. Rudy T's story isn't just about physical recovery, it's about finding the courage to face the place where your life nearly ended and choosing to conquer it every single day. Here is a quick random NBA fact for you before we continue. Did you know that Wilt Chamberlain once averaged 48.5 minutes per game in a season? Yeah, you heard that right. In the 1961 to 1962 season, Wilt played almost every single minute of every game, including overtime. That's how he managed to average over 50 points per game that year. Just imagine playing 48-plus minutes every night and still dominating like that. No load management, no rest days, just pure stamina, skill, and dominance. Insane, right? All right, let's get back to these incredible comeback stories that prove greatness isn't just about stats like Wilt's, it's about the fight within. Jabari Parker, rebuilding after 2 ACL tears. Jabari Parker was once seen as the next big thing when he was drafted 2nd overall by the Milwaukee Bucks in 2014. He had the skills, the size, and the charisma to become the face of a franchise. But in his rookie season, Jabari tore his ACL, the dreaded injury that has ended many careers. He fought back and returned to action, only to suffer the same injury again to the same knee in 2017. At that point, many fans and analysts thought he'd never fulfill his massive potential. Yet Jabari refused to disappear. He continued to work, signing short-term deals with teams like the Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks, Sacramento Kings, and Boston Celtics. While injuries robbed him of being a superstar, he's found ways to contribute wherever he goes, which is a testament to resilience and love for the game. His journey is a reminder that sometimes the comeback doesn't make headlines. Sometimes it's simply about never letting the dream die. Jeff Green, open-heart surgery and his return to the NBA. Jeff Green was a rising star with the Boston Celtics in 2011 when routine team physicals revealed an aortic aneurysm in his heart. Doctors told him bluntly, if left untreated, it could rupture and kill him at any moment. Immediate open-heart surgery was the only option. The operation was successful, but it left his NBA future uncertain. Open-heart surgery is no joke, and no one knew if he'd ever play basketball again, let alone compete at the highest level. But Jeff Green refused to let this end his story. After a full season out, he returned to the Celtics in 2013, scoring 17 points in his first game back. Over the next decade, he became a reliable veteran presence across teams like the Grizzlies, Clippers, Rockets, Nets, and Nuggets. In 2023, over a decade after doctors saved his life, Jeff Green won his first NBA championship with the Denver Nuggets. His journey reminds us that the greatest battles aren't always visible. Sometimes they're within us. Alonzo Mourning, kidney disease, and NBA champion return. In 2000, Alonzo Mourning was at the top of his game, a dominant defensive force, and all-star with the Miami Heat. But then, shocking news changed everything. He was diagnosed with focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, a life-threatening kidney disease that attacked his immune system and vital organs. Doctors warned him that continuing to play could accelerate his health decline. In 2003, his condition worsened, forcing him to retire and go on dialysis while awaiting a kidney transplant. Many thought his NBA career was over forever, but Alonzo Mourning refused to accept that fate. In 2003, he received a kidney transplant from a cousin. With intense rehabilitation and incredible discipline, he made a triumphant return to the NBA in 2004 with the New Jersey Nets before rejoining the Miami Heat in 2005. In 2006, Mourning became an NBA champion with the Heat, contributing crucial defensive stops and blocks during the finals. His comeback is not just an athletic feat, but a testament to faith, perseverance, and gratitude for a second chance at life and basketball. Chronic knee injuries and comeback attempts. Danny Granger was once the face of the Indiana Pacers, an all-star forward averaging nearly 25 points per game in 2009. But chronic knee issues started to derail his prime years. Beginning in 2012, he battled patellar tendinosis, a degenerative condition that wore away the cartilage in his knee. Multiple surgeries and constant pain made explosive movement nearly impossible. By 2014, he had been traded to the Clippers and then signed with the Miami Heat, fighting to reclaim his all-star form. Granger continued rigorous rehab and training, determined to play at his peak again. In 2015, he signed with the Phoenix Suns in a final bid to resurrect his career. Unfortunately, his knee condition worsened, leading to his retirement before playing a single game with Phoenix. Although his comeback wasn't a headline-grabbing return to stardom, Danny Granger's refusal to give up, despite daily pain and diminishing prospects, shows true heart. His story is a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories lie in simply refusing to quit. Anderson Varejão, Achilles rupture and a farewell return. Anderson Varejão, known as Wild Thing for his relentless hustle and energy, was a beloved figure in Cleveland. But in December 2014, during his 11th season with the Cavaliers, Varejao ruptured his Achilles tendon, a devastating injury for any player, especially a big man in his 30s. At that time, he was already battling a history of injuries, including torn tendons and blood clots that had previously threatened his career. Many assumed this Achilles tear would mark the end. Yet, after over a year of grueling rehab, Varejao returned to the NBA in 2016, signing with the Golden State Warriors and contributing as a veteran presence during their record-breaking 73-win season. Later, in 2021, the Cleveland Cavaliers signed him for a short farewell stint, allowing him to retire as a Cav, surrounded by fans who admired his heart and loyalty. Varejao's comeback wasn't about reclaiming all-star form. It was about finishing on his own terms, proving that no injury could take away his spirit for the game. CJ McCollum, collapsed lung and quick return. In December 2021, CJ McCollum, then playing for the Portland Trail Blazers, suffered a pneumothorax, a collapsed right lung, after taking a hard hit during a game. A collapsed lung can be life-threatening and often keeps athletes out for months due to the risk of recollapse under stress. But CJ McCollum isn't your average athlete. After detailed monitoring, breathing treatments, and conditioning therapy, he made his return just 5 weeks later, averaging nearly 24 points in his first games back. He was later traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, where he continues to lead as their primary veteran scorer and floor general. His swift and successful recovery proves that mental fortitude, combined with proper medical guidance, can bring you back from injuries and health conditions that terrify even the toughest men. Quick fact: did you know Michael Jordan once wore number 12 instead of 23 in a game? On February 14, 1990, against the Orlando Magic, someone stole his jersey from the locker room. The Bulls didn't have a backup 23, so he wore an unnamed number 12 jersey and still scored 49 points that night. Nothing could stop MJ from dropping buckets. All right, let's continue with our powerful comeback stories. Stay locked in. Caris LeVert, kidney cancer scare and immediate return. Caris LeVert's injury story is unlike any other on this list. In January 2021, LeVert was traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Indiana Pacers. During his mandatory team physical, doctors discovered a small mass on his left kidney. Further tests revealed it was renal cell carcinoma, kidney cancer. Without that trade and physical, it might have gone unnoticed until too late. He underwent surgery to remove the mass in January, with his basketball career and life hanging in the balance. But just 2 months later, in March 2021, Caris LeVert returned to the court, scoring 13 points in his debut for the Pacers and averaging over 20 points per game in the following months. His comeback wasn't just about basketball, it was about surviving cancer and proving that setbacks are setups for comebacks. Career collapse and unrelenting comeback attempts. In 2017, Isaiah Thomas was the king of Boston. The 5'9" guard averaged nearly 30 points per game, led the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals, and became a top 5 MVP candidate, all while playing through a torn hip labrum. But that same injury ruined his contract hopes. After playing through pain for months, he underwent surgery that robbed him of his explosiveness. Within a year, he went from MVP talks to signing 10-day contracts just to stay in the league. Yet Isaiah Thomas refuses to give up. From the Cavaliers to the Lakers, Nuggets, Pelicans, Mavericks, and even G League stints, IT keeps chasing his NBA dream. In 2022, he signed short contracts with the Hornets and Lakers again, showing flashes of his scoring brilliance. His comeback isn't about reclaiming superstar status. It's about his unbreakable mindset and love for the game that keeps him fighting, no matter how many times he gets knocked down. As we end this powerful journey through NBA players who came back from injuries that were supposed to end their careers, I want you to pause for a moment. Think about it. A torn ACL that shatters confidence. A ruptured Achilles that steals explosive movement. A compound fracture so gruesome the world gasped in horror. Or a life-threatening heart condition that forces you to rethink your very existence. Most of us would give up right there. Doctors say it's impossible. Fans move on. Analysts label you washed before you even recover. The narrative is written for you. But these players, they took that narrative and tore it apart, rewriting their stories in bold ink of determination and resilience. The horrific leg break that shocked the world. While Kevin Ware isn't an NBA legend, his injury remains one of the most shocking and unforgettable moments in basketball history, and his story deserves to be told. On March 31st, 2013, during an NCAA Elite Eight game between Louisville and Duke, Kevin Ware jumped to contest a three-point shot. As he landed, his right leg snapped in half. The bone broke through his skin in a gruesome compound fracture, leaving players, coaches, fans, and even viewers at home in total shock. The arena fell silent as teammates collapsed in tears, coaches turned away in horror, and medical staff rushed onto the court. Commentators were lost for words. It was one of the worst injuries ever broadcast live. Many fans believed Kevin Ware's basketball career was over right there on the court. What makes this story even more emotional is what Kevin said while lying on the ground in excruciating pain. As he was being attended to, he kept telling his teammates, "Just win the game. I'm okay. Just win the game." Doctors said it would take at least a year for him to walk properly again, and many believed he would never play competitive basketball at a high level. But Kevin Ware's mindset was built differently. After surgery to insert a rod into his tibia, he began intense rehabilitation immediately. In just 6 months, he was already walking without crutches. By the following season, he was back in training with Louisville. However, to maximize his playing time and recovery, he transferred to Georgia State University, where he completed his college career. In 2015, Kevin Ware led Georgia State to the NCAA tournament, averaging solid minutes and contributing crucial plays for his team. Although he didn't make it to the NBA, Kevin Ware signed professional contracts to play overseas, including in Finland and the Czech Republic, proving that his basketball journey wasn't defined by that horrific injury. His comeback is shocking, not just because of the severity of his leg break, but because of the mental strength it took to overcome such trauma. Many athletes never recover psychologically from injuries that are gruesome. They hesitate, fearing it could happen again. But Kevin Ware stepped back onto the court with the same confidence, agility, and fearlessness he had before that fateful day. His story is a reminder that true greatness isn't only measured by NBA rings or MVP trophies, it's measured by how you stand up when life tries to take away everything you love. Kevin Ware's name will forever be remembered as the player who suffered one of the most gruesome injuries in basketball history, yet refused to let it end his story. These players showed us that true greatness lies not just in talent, but in resilience. Now let's channel that same mindset into our own dreams. What excuse do you and I have to quit on ours? Remember this: injuries may break bones, but they can never break purpose. Pain may delay destiny, but it can never deny it if you keep showing up. So, whether you're recovering from an injury, rebuilding your dreams, or trying to stand after life knocked you flat on your face, take a deep breath and remind yourself, greatness isn't about never falling. Greatness is measured by how many times you rise again. If this series inspired you, smash that like button, subscribe for more powerful sports stories, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. In our upcoming videos, we'll reveal more facts about NBA players you didn't know exist. Until then, keep rising, keep fighting, and never let anyone tell you your story is over.